And we're back. So we're going to go, we've had 3 categories. Here's the 4th one. The 4th one is in blue. Okay.
There's colors right there.
Hmm?
You want? There's more colors.
There are more colors? I'm holding blue. I like blue. All right. So this one I'm going to put in blue because it's different than those ones. Those are both glycerophospholipids, glycerophospholipid, ether glycerophospholipid. Now we're going to have Sphingolipids. You sound just like Sid the Sloth. Sphingolipids.
My sister actually says her as like
Oh my gosh.
when we were kids.
That's beautiful.
I love you, Sonia.
Shout out. All right, so sphingolipids.
Is it a type of phospholipid?
It is a type of phospholipid.
Got it.
All right, all of these are types of phospholipids. So, sphingolipids, we have, so we have one bullet point up here, and then we have a line right here, okay? So, the bullet point is just to remind you general rule about sphingolipids, okay? They have
No sugar.
Sphingosine as their backbone, okay? Sphingosine. We need to make an Ice Age movie. That'd be great. All right.
All that by gift.
I'll be Scrat. Okay. Sphingosine. All right. And as soon as
I nominate Cassie as Sid.
all right. So sphingosine is the backbone, and then we have 2 categories of types of sphingolipids that are really, really short, and so I just put them both underneath sphingolipids here. One is sphingomyelin.
That's no sugar molecule.
Yes. And right here, look at that, the word myelin. Scientists did it right. Rarity. All right, because it is used in myelin. So we get to have the myelin sheath right here. We get to show a nerve going inside the myelin sheath. Coming out. So fancy. All right. So we have myelin. So it's called sphingomyelin. Go figure. It makes up a lot of the myelin sheath. I believe 70% is what I heard. So she doesn't expect you to know the percent. Just know that it's in nerve myelins. All right. So if it's not sphingomyelin, then it's going to be a glycerosphingolipid. And if someone can check me on that word to just make sure I have the right word.
Glycerosphingolipid?
Yes, if someone can double check that word, it's a glycerosphingolipid. Basically, this is the one that has sugar. It's a word for sugar at the beginning.
So basically below the line is what has sugar, and above the line is what doesn't have sugar?
Yep.
Okay.
So that one doesn't have sugar. The rest of these do have sugar.
Okay.
Thank you for clarifying that.
Sphingomyelin, sphingosine.
Okay. And there are 3 things under here, which conveniently enough are named after kind of some of their names resemble body parts. So this one is, that is a terrible brain.
It's glycosphingolipid.
Glyco. All right. Different sugar prefix. Glycosphingolipid.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Glycosphingolipid.
Have you seen my line?
All right. So this one is a cephalin. Wait. I do this. All right. Give me one sec. All right. It's a cerebroside. Cerebroside. Okay? And they all end with side in this list right here. A cerebroside is the first one, and then we have, and that has 1 sugar. And let's go ahead and pause for just a second And we're talking about sphingolipids. And those have sphingosine. And then we're going to do this down here. So let's go ahead and do review in our minds. Just remember that there's the main topic with a subheading. It's just like, why are they called sphingolipids? Because they have sphingosine. And that's why I kind of tied this one into the name itself, because it really reminds you. And then there are the two types of sphingolipids. There's the sphingomyelins that have no sugar, and then there's the glucosphingolipids that do have sugar. There's one type. Up top you should see a nerve next to it covered in something yellow, which I obviously drew with a not yellow marker, which is sphingomyelin. And then below that big line you can see three things. I sometimes expand my categories a little bit by drawing a big line, so it's like I can know exactly where I am in the category and I'm not getting lost in how many things are there with a big wide line, which is why I did that. And beneath there we have three things. We know the first one is a cerebroside, which has one sugar in it. And I put a picture of a brain because cerebro makes me think of cerebral. Okay? All right. You guys can stay in your head if you want to. The next one is a globoside, so you can go ahead and put a globe or a globule or whatever globoside makes you think of.
If you're an X-Men fan, Cerebro.
Mm-hmm. True that.
And two sugars.
I thought it was 3 sugars, but one of them is the acid.
Globosides can contain 2 or more sugars, according to them.
Just kidding.
I remember that 2 was in there, so yeah, 2 or more lines up with that. So 2 sugars, 2 plus sugars. All right, so go ahead and stick a globe there on your second of the 3, and then the third one, you can go ahead, and there's a globe. And the third one is gangliosides. And so I personally like ganglia, and so just a picture of a ganglia works for me. All right, so this is like, it's a ganglia, promise. All right, gang, and you can also have a gang if that works better for you. Just see a bunch of punks with, tattoos, bulging muscles, and they never do leg workouts, so it's all spindly down there. Make it memorable. Gangliosides. All right, so gangliosides, and their special little side dealie over here. So this gang, or ganglia, whichever one you do, depending on how much you like spindly legs, I guess, are next to the sea, okay? So this is a coast. Here's the water. And the reason we're next to the sea is because, and there's a pool of acid right here, and this entire sea is made up of acid, so it's sialic acid is what is in gangliosides, and that one you'll want to know. And so, why is there green? Because it's acidic. It's an acidic sea. Sialic acid. Okay? All right, let's go ahead and review. We've got the main topic category with a little sub thing, and then we have the without sugar, with sugar. So, main topic. Bingo. Now below, and why is it called a sphingolipid again? That's the little subheader. Because it has sugar. Because it has sugar slot. Because it has sphingosine, yes. All right. Now we have the two types. There's without sugar and with sugar. The without sugar, you should see a picture. Just go ahead and see it. What would that be called? Okay. Go ahead and call it out. We've had a second.
Myline.
Yes, sphingomyelin. All right.
Have you seen my line?
Awesome. Now we move down to the sugar ones. You should have 3 little pictures that remind you of these guys. One of them looks kind of like go ahead and think of it. First picture.
Brain.
You're using it to think of it. Great. Yes. And so it's a cerebroside, and it's got 1 sugar.
Professor Xavier is going into Cerebro to search the globe to find a gang where it has C-alic. By the sea where he's trying to find alic acid, the mutant.
Okay, alic acid, the new mutant made by Tamara. All right. Awesome. So the second one we heard was a globoside with 2 sugars or more. And then the third one we see is ganglia with sialic acid. All right. So if you can go over those in your head, then that means that they're there, and that's awesome. So if any of them are fuzzy, what?
What made these groups? Why are each groups different? How are they classified as such? What is a phospholipid overall?
So a phospholipid is a lipid that has phosphates, and a glycerophospholipid is one that has glycerol.
Okay.
What's up?
No, I'm yawning.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
So glycerophospholipids have glycerol backbone. Ether glycerophospholipids have an ether binding them somewhere. I actually didn't look up the exact structure of those ones, but ether is a chemical bond.
And then just sphingosine is just sphingosine.
Yes, and it's
so
got
lipids
sphingosine.
with a phosphate, and this one has sphingosine, that one has a glycero, and this one has ethers and glycerol.
Yep.
Okay.
So those are the things.
Okay,
And
so the ether glycerophospholipids possess an ether linkage instead of an acyl group at the C1 position of glycerol.
cool. Well, let's see.
That is going to be a test question. I just know it.
Okay, repeat it.
Ether glycerophospholipids possess an ether linkage instead of an acyl group at the C1 position of glycerol.
So they have ether instead of an acyl group
Okay.
at C1.
That's it.
All right. Excellent.
Excellent.
So,
Thank you. I can't forget Sphingolipids.
cheers. All right. So,
Ether one.
at this point, what I would normally do, I'm not going to make you guys do it because it's slow when everyone does it in a group, but it's really fast to do it in your head. At this point, I would be going through all 4 of them, and just basically whenever I have a new category, I try and go through all the previous ones, or as soon as it's in the second half of lecture, I'll do like half or something. I do what I can, anything that feels like it needs to be hit. So, the last category that was kind of off the side, I'm going to erase all this. Panic! Okay, it's recorded.
Surfactant.
Oh, bam! You're awesome. Phosphatidylcholine. My goodness, someone's gonna say that in class, and I'm gonna go.
See, I'm in Alice in Wonderland with Mad Hatter's tale because phosphatidal. It just sounds like an Alice in Wonderland word.
Would you like some phosphatidal in your choline tea?
No,
Yeah.
see,
Alright.
that's
Sit
it.
the sloth. Oh my God, sit the sloth at the table now.
And pick the penguins in their red suits.
All right.
Penguins? Where'd you put your
It
penguins?
is the last week before finals. Can you tell?
Are you
I think we're
sleeping
always
up?
like this inside.
Yeah,
All
I was gonna say, you
right.
don't want to get in this
Oh, I'm
brain.
always like this. I don't know about you guys.
All right. So we have
She's in my ICSA class group.
this
so-
one I actually kind of did as a picture. It helped me. This is one of the ones that if the picture helps you, great. You might make your own on this one because this is going into the depths of Taylor's weirdness. Okay, at least
Do it.
disorganizedness. So this is the picture. There's one that's high, one that's low, and then 2 that are next to each other. And that's just how I stored it in my head. There's no reason that those are like that. You can totally make a new thing. Okay? The reason I'm drawing it up on the board this way is 2 things. 1, to help me remember while I'm looking at the board, and number 2, because if you have spatial relationships of some kind, especially if they're a little bit unorthodox and you haven't seen them 60 jillion times, like if I drew the circle there, and then it's just 2 and then 2, it helps you remember it, because it's like there's something down and to the right. Okay, so this first one, these are diseases. Yes!
Okay.
Diseases. Alright? How many of you guys have seen Bill Nye the Science Guy? Bill Nye the Science Guy. Bill. Alright. So, unfortunately... Oh, yeah. Alright. Nye, man, pick, disease. Bill has come down with some issues. Alright. So for this one, I actually just made a picture of Bill. And we're going to give him a very cleft chin today. Alright. And, alright, we're not going to spend the time to make Bill look really fancy today. All right. All right.
Pretty good.
He looks like the Iron Giant.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so Bill is having, give him something of a hand. All right, Bill is having an interesting day. He has, in my head, I see Bill Nye, and I see right here, just sort of, I see his lungs through his chest just a little bit because he can get pneumonias really easy and bronchitis, and so that's something in Niemann-Pick disease. And he also, I see in the throat, it's just sort of red, and I just know that there's something there, and so I kind of highlight it with red, and I make it move when I look at it. And that's because he has trouble swallowing, okay? Then he also has his arms flailing up because he has some involuntary movements, or erratic movements. And then I also see that his eyes have circles under them, and that one I actually need to go back and review exactly what that was, but I know that there's something that I've forgotten, so I know what to review. I think it was insomnia. It might have been mental issues. So, that's Niemann-Pick disease. And
Excessive muscle contractions or eye movements.
Or eye.
Sleep disturbances.
sleep
Difficult.
disturbances. So it was not insomnia, but sleep disturbances.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So, go ahead and do whatever you want to in your head, because this one has several pieces of information on it, so we're going to go ahead and do this one by itself. So it's one picture. Go ahead and give him the lungs, the neck, the arms, the eyes, whatever works for you. Oh, and one of his hands, I have him holding a pickaxe, because Bill Nye, when he goes crazy, will totally have a pickaxe. And it's Niemann-Pick disease. All right. Next one. When you guys are ready, just give me a thumbs up. We can wait till it's there. All right. We have Fabry's disease down here.
Febreze.
Yes, Fabry's. That's so much more widely applicable than my esoteric, geeky one that was from Schlock Mercenary. So Fabry's disease. That deals with galactose and I think that it has issues in breaking down galactosidases.
It's a deficiency of the enzyme
Alpha
galactosidase
galactosidase A. Okay. Alpha galactosidase A. Excellent. And it has a lot of things on the slide. I chose to remember the ear, so you can have hearing issues and hearing loss. What was that?
I was gonna say, how do you know which ones to know? Because I know with the vitamins, there are so many things.
When there are that many things, I start deciding what's most important, and I pick those to memorize first, and then later I might go back and insert more. I might not. Honestly, I do memorize a lot of stuff, and I have enough that I can cover a lot of holes if they come up, but I don't actually memorize absolutely everything. And that list was long enough. That's one of the ones that I was like, I can make 3 pictures, attach 2 pieces of information to each, because there were 2 things related to hearing, there were 2 things related to the heart, and there were 2 things related to another picture, which I can't bring up right now. And I chose those 6, and I got 6 out of the 11, or whatever there were.
The funky skin.
Funky skin. Ooh.
Rash.
That was the 3rd one, yes. Excellent. And so I chose those ones, and I got mitral prolapse was there, hearing loss or damage, and then the funky skin, which gives you, those blemishes and probably dermatitis. This is actually one of the lectures that, so I'm actually due to review. So, today, now, Niemann-Pick, Fabry. Up here we have Tay-Sachs, which really works for me.
Mr. Taylor.
Yes. Tay-Sachs And Tay-Sachs, I remember, has hex A issues, which is an enzyme. And if you go back in your little memory thing, where you go back to the sphingolipids, where you had the 3 types of sugared sphingolipids, glucosphingolipids, you'll remember that there were cerebrosides, globosides, and gangliosides. And Tay-Sachs is when the gangliosides are accumulating, and so because you don't have hex A to break them down. And so I actually have, like, whenever I see Tay-Sachs, I go back to that part in my memory palace, and it's like that thing at the bottom, and so by using the previous thing, I don't have to build more things right there on Tay-Sachs. I just go like, that thing builds up, the bottom one, the gangliosides. So I'll go ahead and write it here. But anytime that you are able to reuse stuff in your memory palace, there are multiple benefits. One of them is you don't have to put more things in. Another one is that you are then doubling up on strength of the previous item. And the third thing is you can always remember, there was something, I mean, if you have like a category that is leaking out of your head and it's like, oh, I know that there was something over there because something came and combined with this, and so it's another pathway to go and remember it. Anyway, Tay-Sachs, buildup of gangliosides, and that causes like swelling and edema because it's a retention disease, storage disease. Retention is my term, not like an official term. All right, retention of gangliosides. Next, we have the Gauchers. Yes. Gauchers. All right. Gaucher's disease is similar, except it's being the cerebrosides this time. And so it's the brain. And the cerebrosides are the ones that are building up. And you have buildup there. And then that's the end of this category, are those 4 things. So you can go ahead and take a second to review them if you like. It really helps. First one. You should see that nice famous science guy and his 4 issues. What he's holding will help you remember the name, Niemann Pick. All right, moving on to the next one. You can see Fabry's, if you like. That probably works for most people. I see something from Schlock Mercenary, and if anyone reads that, it's a comic. I stopped reading it after a while, but early on there were some things that were called Fabbies, and I remembered it with those. And then you had alpha galactosidase A, which was what was not functioning and would cause retention of it. And then you'd have the 3 groups of issues down beneath with, see those pictures? Skin. Yeah, funky skin. Nice science terms. The heart and the ear. The heart had mitral prolapse, the ear had hearing issues, possible deafness. All right, moving on to Tay-Sachs. You guys can be tired of listening to me and throw me into a sack. And
I'll put a hex on you.
And then you can deliver me down to the seaside next to sialic acid and toss me into the lake of acid. And so that reminds you that you get a buildup of gangliosides. And then for Gauchers, you can remember that it's the cerebrosides that build up. So, awesome. Gonna go ahead and erase these.
And cerebrosides were under the sphingolipids because they had sphingosines.
Excellent. Yep, the glucosphingolipids. All right. I'm going to go ahead and stop this for a bit.